I mean, honestly, we could have had that.
Okay, I gotta make sure that all the comments are able to. It should be, yeah, I think so. So we just wait for a couple minutes just to kind of get everybody on here. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Patricia Patonis, and I'm one of the Education and Outreach Specialists for SARC. And today we have a very, very special guest, Miss Skylar Love. Skylar, please introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, where you work at.
Okay, so just like Patty said, my name is Skylar Love, and I am a health promotion specialist at Texas A&M University. And I have a specific focus on alcohol and other drugs. So we do a lot of alcohol and other drug programming and prevention on A&M's campus. So we do sober tailgate, we do alcohol education workshops, and we do a lot of things that just try to get the word out and educate students on how to safely consume alcohol while they're here in college, but also as they move on into adulthood, things like that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm one of the education and outreach specialists for the Sexual Assault Resource Center. Obviously, as you guys know, this webinar is a Smart Sits webinar. So basically, we go out into the trainings and hello, thank you so much.
Hey.
Megan said hello. Hey, Patty. Hey, Skylar. So basically, we go out into the community and talk about different topics ranging from consent, sexual harassment, healthy versus unhealthy relationships, human trafficking, and we have a new training now that's called a Smart Sits training. So basically, we go into bars and teach their staff pretty much the sexual assault statistics and ways to prevent that from happening at their bar or their place of restaurant where they serve alcohol. So we're going to kind of get into that a little bit more in detail as we go on. So yeah, let's get started. And by the way, if you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to put them down below, and we'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Just remember, guys, that this is not confidential. So if you want to say something, confidentially, make sure to call us at 979-731-1000. That's our 24/7 crisis hotline. Or you can email us at reachingout@sarcbb.org. And you can follow all of our social medias, Facebook, Instagram. Go to our website, sarcbb.org. That's where all the latest information is at. So yeah, well, let's get started. Because we don't want to keep you guys here on too long. It's a lot of information, so just bear with us. But first off, I want to kind of talk to everybody out there and just kind of mention that it's not bars and it's not alcohol consumption that's a problem. It's the perpetrator and their choice to use those things in order to perpetuate sexual assault, okay? So obviously one of the most common things is whenever somebody has been sexually assaulted. And obviously boys and girls, men and women can both be sexually assaulted, but it's more commonly known for women, right? But when I say the word she, just know I'm also referring to he. So it's, it intertwines as well. I just want to say whenever the first thing that comes up when somebody has been sexually assaulted, oh, well, were they drinking? Were they under the influence of drugs? Or what were they wearing? It shouldn't matter what you're wearing. It shouldn't matter where you're drinking or, if you were drinking or not, that shouldn't be an excuse for you to get raped. That's not okay. So some of the objectives of our Smart Sips presentations, it's to raise awareness of the nature of sexual violence in nightlife settings, especially, us being a college town. The Northgate area is a very, very popular place among college students. So we're trying to raise awareness on the consequences, the risks, also to promote the unacceptability of all forms of sexual violence, to also improve the awareness of ways to identify, prevent, and respond, and also to develop an individual skills to enable bystander engagement to prevent or respond to sexual violence. So yeah. So is there anything that you wanted to add on to that, Skylar?
No, I think it was great. I think you covered it all.
Okay, but I'm going to kind of pass it on to Skylar now, and she's going to talk to you guys a little bit kind of an overview of alcohol, since she does work in that department. She's a little bit more, I actually used to work at a drug abuse council, so I'm pretty familiar with this.
A little bit, a little something.
I know a little something, but I will pass it on to Miss Skyler, and she's gonna let us know about drink sizes and stuff like that. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So really quickly, alcohol is a depressant. It's a drug. It's something that suppresses your central nervous system. It kind of slows you down a little bit. Just a really basic overview of just what alcohol is. One thing, it's really important to be aware of standard drink sizes. I think a lot of times individuals think that just because they have one cup and one container with an alcoholic beverage in it, that's equals one drink, and that's definitely not true. When you go to a party and they're serving a drink out of a big bowl and someone's just kind of like scooping it or doing whatever, that could be 2 or 3 drinks just in that red solo cup. So it's really important to be aware of standard drink sizes so that you can kind of be aware of how much you're drinking when you're going out and hanging out with your friends. So a general rule of thumb, there are marks on red solo cups which make it really easy to figure out how much, like what line equates to what measurement. So for instance, a standard serving size of beer is 12 ounces. So that's going to be one of the top lines on the solo cup. I wish I had brought one and I could show it visually. So the top line of that is going to be 12 fluid ounces. And then the next line down will be about towards the bottom of the cup. That's going to be the line for your wine. And that's going to be between 5.5-ish fluid ounces. And then the very bottommost line, which is like at the very, very base of the cup, that's going to be for hard liquor, a shot, so to speak. And that's going to run you at about 1.5 or so fluid ounces. So again, it's just really important to be aware of standard drink sizes when you're going out and having a good time and consuming alcohol. We know that as a student at A&M, there are plenty of places that you can go and have a drink. So we just want to make sure that students are doing that safely and so that they're still able to, go to school and still fulfill all of their other obligations that they have while they are students at A&M. Mm-hmm. Next, I want to kind of go over alcohol absorption and how alcohol is absorbed. Oh, hi from Boston.
Hello from Boston. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
And hi, Tahisha, if I'm saying that correctly. Tahisha. Hello from Boston. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah. So a lot of people assume that alcohol is absorbed in the liver, and that's actually not true. Alcohol is metabolized in the liver at the rate of 1 standard drink per hour, but most alcohol is absorbed in the small intestine. About 80% of alcohol is absorbed in the small intestine, and the other 20% is absorbed in the stomach. And it's really important to know that information because a lot of times when students or people in general, I won't even just limit that to students.
Right.
A lot of times when people are really intoxicated, they feel that if they make themselves throw up, then they'll sober up, they'll feel better.
Or like taking a cold shower or something.
Or taking a cold shower or something like that. But with only 20% of alcohol being absorbed in your stomach, you making yourself vomit might make you physically feel better. But that won't lessen the alcohol content in your body. That's not going to sober you up faster. It won't do any of those things because most of the alcohol is absorbed in your small intestine. Another reason why you don't want to induce vomiting is because when your body is naturally preparing to vomit, you get the mouth sweats, right? Mm-hmm. So you start to salivate and you're like, oh my gosh, I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm going to throw up. Right. So that the mouth sweats, that's your body's response of, your body's trying to prepare for you to throw up. If you don't know, stomach acid is extremely, extremely corrosive. So when your mouth starts to really salivate and gets really watery, your body is preparing and is coating your mouth and coating your throat to get ready for that really acidic stomach acid that's going to come up when you throw up. But when you induce vomiting, when you make yourself throw up, your body isn't able to prepare. So you're going to damage your esophagus, you're going to damage your mouth, your teeth, things like that. So you really want to stay away from inducing vomiting.
Right.
So next, we'll talk about, really quickly, the 911 Lifeline Law. A lot of folks know about it. Some folks don't, but I think it's really, really important that students are aware of this law. So the 911 Lifeline Law grants amnesty for minors who report a possible alcohol overdose. However, there are 3 caveats to this law. In order to receive amnesty, you must be the first person to call and request assistance. So if you're a student and you're underage and you're at a party and you see someone and you think that they might be suffering from alcohol poisoning, the first thing that you're going to want to do is call 911, call whomever. 911, I say call whomever, call 911. That's your first call. So you have to be the first person to call. If you are at a party and you know that there's a lot of underage drinking going on, you might want to make some sort of announcement like, hey, everybody, I just called the cops. Like, y'all might want to clear out. That's personally what I would do. If you don't like everybody at the party, you can kind of keep it to yourself that you called the cops and then, everyone for themselves. But this law only applies to one person. And again, that person has to be the first person to call. The second caveat is that you must remain on the scene with the victim until EMS and medical personnel and law enforcement personnel arrive on the scene. So you must be the first person to call. You must remain on the scene until medical and law enforcement personnel arrive. And then the third caveat is that you must cooperate with law enforcement and medical personnel when they arrive on the scene. So this could look like an EMS worker asking you, hey, do you know how much this person's had to drink? Hey, do you know if this person was taking drugs in conjunction with their consumption of alcohol? And these are really, really important questions because these questions and the answers to these questions are going to determine the type of care that person receives. So if this person is potentially your friend and you know that they were taking drugs along with drinking, you're going to want to offer that information up to that EMS person, because if you know that your friend was taking X amount of drug and you're able to communicate that to the EMS worker, then that might dictate what type of treatment or what type of medicine can be administered to that person at that current moment, because you don't want to have counteracting substances in your body. So again, you have to be the first person to call, you have to remain on the scene with the victim, and you must cooperate with law enforcement and medical personnel as they arrive on the scene. Now, the 911 Lifeline law only applies to Class C misdemeanors. So that's going to be your minor in possession or a minor in consumption. However, it does not apply to Class A misdemeanor. So that's going to be something like providing alcohol to a minor. And the 911 Lifeline law also does not cover potential drug charges that could incur by having the authorities come to wherever you are. So let's say you're at a party, you call, you're the first person to call, you remain on the scene, and you cooperate, but it's your house and the police see a bong or a pipe or some type of drug paraphernalia or drugs at all. They can still move forward with that drug process, but you wouldn't get in trouble for the Class C misdemeanor, like a minor in possession or a minor in consumption.
Okay, perfect. Megan said, I had no idea about this law. Very informative. Yeah.
Good. Glad
awesome.
I can spread the word. So next I want to talk about if you are going out and you have a friend that's had a little bit too much to drink and you're having to care for them, just some tips and tricks on how to care for that person in the best way possible. Because I know a lot of times while we're in college, we hear a lot of myths about how to sober somebody up really quickly, how to help someone who's, extremely intoxicated. And some of those things are extremely true and some of those things are extremely false. So I think it's really important to know which of those myths and tips that we've heard of, which of those are true, tried and true, and which of those are just myths and won't work. So some things that you're going to want to do, you're going to want to perform the Bacchus maneuver. And it sounds really complicated, but it's not at all. So basically the Bacchus maneuver is just you laying the person on their side, and that's going to prevent them from choking on their own vomit if they were to lay on their back. So for the Bacchus maneuver, one tip that you can do is put a backpack on that person. And so that backpack is going to prevent that person from completely rolling over on their back. So that's going to help you if you need to leave the room to do something, or if you need to take care of some other things while this person is intoxicated. But you want to ensure that that person does not end up on their back and choke on their own vomit. So the Bacchus maneuver, put that person on their side, maybe put something behind them to prop them up on their side, just to ensure that they're not rolling over on their back. Another thing that you're going to want to do is keep that person warm. And when I say keep them warm, that doesn't necessarily mean that, oh my gosh, my friend is super intoxicated. Let me go get my parka. Let me go get my big North Face coat and put on this person. Let me go get a blanket. That's not necessarily what we mean. It's just you're going to want to make sure that that person isn't near any open windows or doors that are opening frequently when it's cold outside. A lot of times when people drink alcohol, they think that alcohol makes them warmer, makes them hotter.
Right.
But really, your core body temperature is lowered. It's just that your blood is rising to the surface of your skin. So that's why you kind of feel kind of hot, kind of warm when you drink.
Hot and cozy.
Yeah, like you feel really warm. And your face might feel a little warm, but your core body temperature is being lowered, and that's because your blood is rising to the surface of your skin, which makes it feel really warm. So you'll just want to make sure that that person isn't near, like I said, an open window in the wintertime, or near a door that's frequently opening and closing in the wintertime. You want to make sure that they're nice and warm.
Right.
Another thing that you're going to want to do is stay with them. You're going to want to stay with them so that you can monitor them and, give them water if they need to get water, or if that person, really wants something to eat, giving them something to eat and just kind of monitoring them just to make sure that they're okay and that, nothing is going to go wrong while they are by themselves. You're going to want to reassure them. A lot of times when people get extremely intoxicated, sometimes they freak out or they get really emotional, and it's really hard to regulate those emotions when you have so much alcohol in your system. So if you're a friend and you're sober, hey dude, like it's okay, you're good, I'm here for you, I'm here with you, like, what do you need? I'm here to take care of you, I got your back, what's up? So just reassuring them, letting them know everything's gonna be okay. Hey, I'm not gonna leave you. Like we're gonna get through this together. Like I'll make sure you're taken care of. Just to kind of calm that person's nerves. Some things that you are not gonna want to do. You don't want to let them exercise. So that's a myth that we hear. Sometimes people say, oh, if you're really intoxicated, just go for a run, just do a couple push-ups. Like you'll be okay. You'll sober up. Not true. Exercise, I don't know about y'all watching and I don't know about you, Patty, but exercising sober is already a challenge in itself. Like the treadmill is killer. So you definitely don't want to push someone to exercise while they're intoxicated because it's extremely unsafe. Another thing that you're not going to want to do, again, I talked about it on a little bit earlier, is induced vomiting. Again, stomach acid is really corrosive. You don't want to, mess up your esophagus, mess up your teeth, things like that. So it's best not to induce vomiting. If it's happening naturally, then by all means, have a trash can ready, have some water ready for that person, but you're not going to want to induce vomiting by potentially sticking your finger down
their throat.
You're not going to want to give this person food, aspirin, or water. Now, if they ask for food or water, by all means, but you don't want to be forcing water or food down someone's throat. When it comes to aspirin or ibuprofen or acetaminophen, those type of painkillers, you'll want to wait until the next morning, until all of the alcohol has cleared that person's system before you want to administer any of those drugs, because those drugs are going to counteract with the alcohol, and it's not going to sober that person up at all. The only thing that can sober you up is time. So allowing that alcohol to move through your body and to, move through your liver and to be metabolized and processed and then eventually eliminated through waste. So again, the only thing that's going to sober you up is time. Your liver can metabolize one standard drink per hour.
And it also depends on your body weight, your fat percentage, and all those things go into account as well. But like Skylar said, at the end of the day, time is what's going to be able to, filter everything out from the night before.
Another thing, obviously, that you're not going to want to let that person do is get behind the wheel. That's an easy one. That's a no-brainer. Your chances of getting in a car accident when getting behind the wheel intoxicated are extremely high. So that person, they've been drinking. Of course, we've all heard the line like, "Oh no, I'm not drunk. I can drive. If you've been with that person all night, you've seen how much alcohol they've been drinking. Do your absolute best to not let that person get behind the wheel. It's extremely important, not only for their safety, but for everybody else's safety as well. You want to make sure that person is not getting behind the wheel.
For sure. And there's Uber guys, there's Lyft, have a friend come pick you up, carpool, ride with a buddy, or, maybe stay the night at a friend's house, obviously, if you trust them enough. But yeah, there's so many different options that can substitute instead of drinking and driving. So yeah.
And the last thing that you are not going to want to do, but I think it is a myth that a lot of us have probably heard before, is to let someone take a cold shower to sober them up, which again is not a good idea for a multitude of reasons. And this is going to be the segue that I'm going to kind of hand it off to Patty. So first of all, like we said earlier, the only thing that's going to sober you up is time. So a cold shower isn't going to help you. But also, a lot of times individuals, if they drink a lot in a night, then they start to black out or brown out. So when someone is blacking out or browning out, that does not mean that they are losing consciousness. That means that their brain is no longer able to form new memories. So someone's drinking, now their brain isn't able to form new memories. So they're living in the moment. You can't tell someone's blacking out because it's their brain, but their brain isn't remembering, isn't registering what's going on.
It's not properly functioning.
It's not properly functioning. So imagine someone is blacking out. Again, you can't tell this from the surface, but someone has, taken in so much alcohol that they're starting to black out. And you can tell that they're really intoxicated. And so you take this person home and you think to yourself, okay, I'll give them a cold shower. This will sober them up. This will make them feel a lot better. So you take your friend whoever it is to the shower, you remove their clothes, you put them in the cold shower, and then you put them in the bed or do whatever. And that person wakes up the next morning and imagine they only have bits and pieces of what went on. So a blackout is losing consciousness or not losing consciousness, but your brain isn't able to form new memories. Browning out is when you have patches of memory. So I remember calling the Uber, but I don't remember getting in. I remember getting home, but I don't remember getting in the bed. So that person kind of has patches of memory. And so let's just say they wake up the next morning and they remember you taking their clothes off, but they don't remember giving you consent to do that. So you don't want to put yourself in that type of situation to where that person is thinking, oh my gosh, like, did I tell you that it was okay for you to remove my clothes? What else happened after you took my clothes off? Did we have sex? Did I do anything? Did you do anything? And that's going to leave that person really wondering and really uncomfortable. So you definitely don't want to put yourself or someone else in that type of situation. So that's why it's in your best interest not to put a friend in a cold shower. And also, you don't want to deal with a super intoxicated person, but now you're dealing with someone who's cold and wet and intoxicated as well. So it's not really a good recipe.
Double whammy.
So,
no, but thank you so much, Skylar. Great information, just to kind of give you an idea of like the drink sizes and everything that goes on. Megan also said the student organization carpool is amazing. You guys have a student organization carpool for Texas A&M? Okay.
Yes, Texas A&M.
And what's the requirements? Is it free? Is it?
Yes. So carpool is completely free.
Okay.
You actually don't have to be a student at A&M to utilize carpool. Okay. And actually, I can give you.
Well, while she goes to get the information, I wanted to give you guys one statistic. In a study of male students in the USA, 92% reported perpetuating at least one sexually aggressive act in bars since they were students in college. So that's a study of male students in the USA. 92% reported that they perpetuated at least one sexually aggressive act in bars since they were students in college. That's high huge. Statistics. Yes, that's very huge.
Especially for self-reporting, I feel like that's really, really high.
Right. And also that doesn't take into account people, maybe they didn't want to tell the truth on the survey. So there's so many different factors. That statistic could be a lot higher, you know.
Really quickly.
Go ahead.
So for carpool, you don't have to be a student at A&M. They do rides Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. And their website is carpool.tamu.edu. So if you want to get more information about carpool, again, it's carpool.tamu.edu.
Perfect. And I know there's a phone number right there.
Yes.
So carpool is 979-693-9905. So call for a free, safe ride home, you guys. All right, so back to the statistics a little bit. 70% of sexual assaults are committed by a perpetrator known or related to the victim. 2 in 5 women in Texas have been sexually assaulted. 1 in 5 men in Texas have been sexually assaulted. So those stats are pretty high.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I think a lot of times when people talk about sexual assault, they assume that it's this guy lurking in the corner, like with his collar up like this. It's this completely random person.
Right.
And I think a lot of times that's what we see in the media. So, if you watch a lot of Law and Order SVU, it's this guy coming out of the alleyway and taking somebody, and it's most of the time that's not the case. That's not the case.
So whenever it comes to sexual violence, especially in nightlife, 4 of the 3 main, bullet points, so to speak. The first one is, that opportunistic, pretty much that opportunity for someone to take advantage of whether there's too much crowding at a bar for them to touch somebody inappropriately, or especially if someone is intoxicated, they're, probably going to be exploited by that opportunistic person, that chance to get, some type of whatever sexual assault that they plan to achieve. And also some misperceptions are when an individual perceives another person to be interested. I know a lot of ladies, even men, but they get sexually harassed, they get catcalled, and some guys just don't know the word no, especially if, let's say, if a guy or a girl is interested in you, and let's say you're not interested at all, what's the best way to go about letting them know that you're not interested? First of all, giving them consent, like, hey, I'm not interested, verbally stating I'm not interested, or even just like turning away, walking away, being with your friends. There's so many ways to say you're not interested, besides that verbal, hey, no, I'm not interested. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, okay. I completely agree.
And also, like Skylar said, that predatory behavior, they target that nightlife because it's easy for finding victims, and they can also provide either drugs and alcohol, especially with the population, the student population. They're a little bit more vulnerable, and especially those who are under the influence of alcohol or drugs, they're extremely vulnerable to sexual assault. Some social norms, also, like some may support sexual violence and prevent people from recognizing as such. So, and also, like, for example, women may drink or work in bars to be loose, or that they like being felt up. And that's societal's, like, way of kind of
like saying that
victim blaming. Yeah, victim blaming. Yes, that victim blaming. Like, oh, well, she shouldn't be working at a bar, or she shouldn't be a bartender if she doesn't want, guys whistling and calling. Like, she's just doing her job, right? Yeah. Just like any other person, she should not have to go through being antagonized and harassed and assaulted just because either that person is just there to have a drink at a bar, or that person is working at a bar, or, they shouldn't be there to be sexually assaulted, to be raped, to be harassed, to be fondled inappropriately. So that's just my take on things, and as well as SARCs. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I think that social norms play a really big part in the drinking culture when in college,
right?
Because a lot of times nowadays in 2020, people know what it would look like if someone were to spike a drink. If I were to say, hey, Patty, let me buy you a drink,
right?
And I buy a drink and I do this, and someone sees that, they are automatically like, boop, 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 boop. That person just, potentially put something in, that person's drink. I know what that looks like. Big red flag.
Right.
Perpetrators and predators know that. They know that people are looking for that. So they go through different ways, different avenues to render victims helpless. Yeah. So when it comes to social norms, this is going to be someone who's continuously like egging someone on to continue drinking, even though it's obvious that person's had too much to drink.
Right.
Because that predator is thinking in their mind, if I can keep getting this person to drink more, then they'll be more vulnerable, and then I can move in for my attack.
Right.
I think another social norm is assuming that when the tables are turned and it's a woman doing the perpetrating, that, it's okay, guys all guys want to have sex anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm sure he wanted it, this and that, but women can perpetrate just as well as men. So I think it's really important to think about those norms, because if someone were at a party and a guy was really intoxicated and so his friends took him up to his room, and then you saw a female go up to that person's room, you probably wouldn't think anything of it. You'd probably think, oh, I'm sure that's his friend. Oh, I'm sure she's just going to check on him. Oh, I'm sure she's, going to go help him, go take care of him. You'd probably think of ways to excuse her going up to that person's room
Right.
after, they're alone and they're intoxicated. But if the tables were switched and it was a girl who was really intoxicated and her friends took her to her room and you saw a male follow to that female's room, you'd probably look a type of way. You might, you might follow him. You might try to ask someone, hey, does he know her? Is that her boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Is that her friend? Did they come together? You'd probably start asking questions because you'd be a little bit concerned. So it's really important to be aware of those social norms and those societal biases that we have.
Right. Megan Buck said, can you speak on any statistics for transgender and gender non-binary victims / survivors? So yes, one statistic that has always stood out to me, especially with the LGBT community, I think it was about 47% of transgender or non-binary survivors have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime. And obviously that statistic as well can be a lot higher because of the many people who go unreported. But it's about 50%, and it's extremely, that's a problem. That's a problem that we need to focus on, especially with the LGBT, such a vulnerable population. We need to definitely focus on that as well.
Especially
go ahead.
Black
Yes.
LGBTQ youth
Yes.
and gender non-conforming victims and survivors.
Mm-hmm. And like Skylar mentioned, with that drug-facilitated sexual assault, like roofing somebody's drink, or even there's other drugs that have been very common in terms of that drug-facilitated sexual assault, which is MDMA, there's Xanax, there's ketamine, and obviously alcohol. So we just gotta, be very wary and make sure to always if you're with a group of friends, make sure they're vigilant and kind of just to be on the safe side, just make sure kind of view your surroundings and what you can do to, just in case that does happen, how you can, react to that situation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to consent, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So consent is assent in fact, whether expressed or apparent. So to consent to something is to agree to that thing taking place.
Mm-hmm.
So Planned Parenthood has this really cool acronym called consent is like fries. So consent is freely given, it's reversible, it is I'm like, how do you spell fries?
FRIES?
Yeah, okay, so freely given, reversible, the E is enthusiastic, the S is specific,
right.
And I think the I is informed. So
right.
Freely given, which means that you weren't under threat, you weren't coerced, you weren't under duress or stress, so that right. consent was freely given. That are reversible, meaning you can consent to making out with someone, but just because you're consenting to making out, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're consenting to having sex with that person.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The I, informed, so informed about all of the acts that, maybe you want to record. You'd want to inform that person, hey, is it okay if I pull out my phone and record? If you didn't, include that when you were discussing having sex with that person, then their consent isn't informed.
Mm-hmm.
The E, enthusiastic, so if you ask someone, hey, you want to have sex? And they're like, sure.
Yeah. If they already seem hesitant, take that as a no. So in terms of giving consent, you have to be above 18. For Texas, I think it's 17, the legal age. So you cannot give consent if you are age 16 or younger, if you are unconscious or asleep, if you have been administered a mind-altering substance, or are mentally incapable of understanding the act in question. So if you are under the influence of alcohol and drugs, you are not able to get consent whatsoever. So let's say you meet somebody at a bar, and you guys have a couple drinks, and let's say they were interested, you were interested, but then you kind of saw that person maybe have been a little too intoxicated. So you know what? And you're unsure, the consent is a no. Just go with the no, just to be on the safe side. Megan pointed out Chanel Miller. She was the Brock Turner survivor. One of my favorite quotes, by the way. Rape is not a punishment for getting drunk. That's a great quote. Extremely powerful. Maybe you expect a hangover. Maybe a little blurry vision or something,
maybe a bruised
maybe
knee.
a bruised knee, but you should not expect to get raped. That should not be the punishment for getting drunk. So thank you so much, Megan. Hello, Maria. Hello.
Hi, Maria.
All right, well, let's move on. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples, and you guys can feel free to comment, ask a question, or anything. All right, so let's say a customer slams someone against the wall. What would you do? If you were a bartender at a place and a customer slammed somebody against the wall, what would you do?
I'm either going to call 911 or I'm going to look at the bouncer like, you good? I don't break up fights, let me just say. So, I mean, because it's too cute to break up a fight. So I'm going to call 911. Hopefully there's a bouncer near that can help do that. So when it comes to bystander intervention, inciting the help of other folks. So,
yes. Great point. So with this bystander intervention, speak up. Say something. If you see something wrong going on, say something. I actually want to give a little shout out to my fellow EOS, Jennifer Locks. I remember her telling me a story of her going back to visit her home state in Chico, and she was out with some friends having some drinks, and they saw these kind of sketchy guys at a table, and were just kind of watching like a group of girls and buying them shots after shots after shots and sending them drinks until finally Jennifer was like, hey, something's not right here. Luckily, Jennifer works at the Sexual Assault Resource Center, so she knows exactly what to do in that situation. So you know what she did? She told the bartenders. She told her friends about it. They noticed it too, and they got those guys out of there. Just because, just the way they were interacting, just being kind of sketchy, just kind of trying to get the girls drunk, and so it was. And even Jennifer had said they didn't even look like college students, so they looked a little bit older. So that right there was already a red flag. So that goes into my next example. What if a customer is buying a group of girls shots, and the customer continues to buy and purchase drinks for the group? Girls are making eyes at each other. Body language is avoiding contact. So that's exactly what happened in that situation. And luckily we had Jennifer right there, a fellow education outreach specialist for SARC, who told the bouncers, hey, the security guards, hey, these guys are, I don't know about these guys. Yeah. So obviously they didn't really have any other explanation, and they just kind of were like, okay, we got caught, so it's time to go. So yeah, awesome. Go Jennifer. But like Skylar said once again, and obviously us at SARC, we do know that perpetrators can blend into the background of normal, consensual interactions. So they can look as normal as possible, even people that you wouldn't expect. Those are the ones, being perpetrators. So just be very careful. It's not, like the mysterious, sketchy guy in the background. It could also be like a very outgoing, handsome individual or pretty girl that's, possibly trying to go out there to do some type of sexual assault. So it can be like anybody.
Like Ted Bundy.
Yes.
Like a lot of women looked at Ted Bundy, infatuated, thought he was super attractive. He didn't fit a lot of individuals. He didn't fit the bill of someone who was, taking women and raping women and killing them and doing all of these things. Because what do you mean? Like, this guy's handsome. He's got all these things going for him. He's super smart. He's this, he's that. There's no way that he's the one, perpetrating all these crimes. So it can be anyone, any race, creed, color, age, gender. It doesn't matter. It can be anybody.
It doesn't matter. Like I said, once again, sexual assault does not discriminate. And SARC doesn't either. It doesn't matter what race, what sexual orientation, what gender, what religion, the legal status. If you have a disability, it does not matter. We welcome everybody, because at the end of the day, it does not discriminate. Sexual assault can happen to anybody. So that's one thing that I want to point out to you guys. That's very, very important. So in terms of these steps that a perpetrator goes through, it's basically they select their target. And then the second step is they test those boundaries. Oh, like, oh, okay, well, she's drinking. Let me get her a shot, or let me
see if I can like touch her arm or touch his leg,
right,
or touch his hair, or get really close and whisper in this person's ear.
So testing those boundaries just to see how far they can take it, how far they can't take it. And the third step is they isolate the target. So basically, they take them back to their place or in a more like secure, like kind of secluded area. And that number 4 step is they follow up after the assault to minimize their behavior. So those are some of the kind of the steps that the perpetrator takes to do a sexual assault. So there was a story that, let me tell you guys a little bit of a story. I'm sorry, this is story time. But a bartender told the story of a man creeping on a woman. Both were sitting at the bar. They didn't know each other, and the woman was giving off no body language. Some mild vocalization of, I'm not interested, but nothing loud or super direct. The bartender could tell it wasn't wanted. He took the guy's drink, moved it down 3 or 4 seats, and said, you're sitting here. You know why. All right? So that is that bystander intervention by that bartender. And so with this Smart Sips presentation, we can go into any bar where we have gone to a couple bars on Northgate, actually, to go talk to their staff and ways that they could help out, especially with that bystander intervention. So any bars out there, any restaurants that serve alcohol, feel free to contact us if you want a presentation about this. You can always reach out to us at reachingout@sarcbb.org, or you can call our crisis hotline, which is available 24/7 at 979-731-1000. So what other role do you think that these Nightlife employees can play in preventing sexual violence? Skylar, what do you think?
Y'all, I'm going to tell y'all, I did not know she was going to say that.
No. Is there anything else you would like to add to that?
No, I'll answer your question. To be honest, for Nightlife workers, I think that this information and this training is extremely important because a lot of this is perpetrated in the bar before it's taken anywhere else. Right. So to be honest, a lot of times a perpetrator can and will isolate someone in the bar. So they won't even wait they won't wait until they leave the bar to do these things. A lot of these things happen in the bar, at the bar, where the drinks are being poured, being served. So I think it's really important for Nightlife workers to just kind of be really vigilant and know how to recognize these things and know how to intervene and how to step in if need be. And that doesn't always have to be direct. It could be, hey, excuse me, what kind of car do you drive? I think that car's being towed. Providing some type of distraction. It doesn't always have to be this direct, hey, you leave her alone, leave him alone. It doesn't always have to be like that, but just really important that you're able to recognize these different things in a perpetrator and how you can intervene in the safest way possible. Right.
And also in terms of like the staff, there can be more regulations in terms of access, security, also serving the patrons that are at the bar. There's trainings on whether, obviously you can tell whether a person is intoxicated or not, or they're getting to that point of intoxication to where the bartender stops serving them, and so definitely, even, if there's a DJ, if there's a musician that sees something going on, maybe he could tell the bouncers or the bartenders or somebody, just to kind of let somebody know that, hey, this is going on, what can we do to help, type of thing.
So I think it's really important that after all is said and done, that you check in with that with that person,
right?
Just to make sure that they're okay, just kind of talk to them for a little bit, again, just to check in and make sure that everything's all right.
Right. So the first thing to do, spot it. Spot if something is sketchy is happening, or you see that something is not right. Typically, if you have a gut feeling that something is not right, it's typically not right? Okay,
go with your third
go with your gut instinct. So if you see something sketchy happening, check the situation, step in, and speak out. Speak out if you feel safe and comfortable enough to do so. Speak out or tell somebody about it, and check in with that person who is being targeted. Are you okay? If not, you alert security. I remember actually there was a situation where I had gone to a bar with some family members, with a bunch of my guy cousins, my older guy cousins, and I remember I had seen this one guy, he looked like college age, about my age, and he was with two girls, and he was being just so disrespectful to them, and just kind of, you can tell he was intoxicated, and he was under the influence, and I went over to the girls and were like, hey, are you ladies okay? Because I thought, they might just be annoyed by this drunk guy who's just kind of harassing them, So I went over to the girls and said, like, hey, are you guys okay? Is everything good? Even to the guy, I was like, hey, is everything good here? And he just went ballistic. He went off on me. He just was kind of like, what? This is none of your business, blah, blah, blah. But obviously I did not, react in the same way he did. I was just like, okay, I'm just making sure that the girls are okay. Obviously he was very intoxicated. And even the girls was like, no, it's fine. He's just very drunk. It's our friend. He's just acting like a jerk right now. It's funny because as soon as my guy cousins came up behind me, it was about like 5 of them.
Oh, he shut up then.
He shut up real quick. Yeah. He was like, no, I'm sorry. But just like Skylar said, if you spot something sketchy happening, check the situation, step in, make sure everything is okay. Luckily, everything was okay in that situation. But, obviously I have a problem of, I'm sometimes a little too outspoken, but hey, I felt like I needed to speak up at that time, which I did. Everything was fine, but you never know. So just to make sure, you always want to just to make sure everything's going okay, right, and everything's good with the person.
You don't ever want to put yourself in harm's way.
Right. I'm pretty reckless.
I was about to say, I'm pretty tough.
No. In terms of like, I'm fearless, not reckless. That's a bad word. Fearless. So a lot doesn't scare me. So I was not scared of this kid. I was not. I was not scared of him. But like I said, make sure you feel comfortable and safe enough to speak up. If you don't have to. Just make sure, let somebody know, or some other ways you can possibly help out that situation. So definitely it's time to put an end to unwanted sexual contact, especially in the bars, especially in the nightlife settings, for any matter, in any occasion actually. We want to put an end to the cycle of violence. That's what our mission at SARC is. So asking if they're okay or giving them support sends a clear signal that this behavior is not tolerated. But like I said, once again, the Sexual Assault Resource Center we're still providing virtual counseling. So if you guys need any counseling, feel free to call our 24/7 crisis hotline at 979-731-1000, or you can email us at reachingout@sarcbb.org, and go to our website at sarcbb.org, or follow all of our social media. You can get updated with the latest and greatest news of what's going on in the world. But yeah, that's all I have for today. I want to give a special thank you to Miss Skyler for being a part of this webinar. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to write them down. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. We can answer those definitely. We will continue doing these webinar Thursdays every Thursday, so be on the lookout for different topics. And if you have any topic that you would like to talk about, feel free to let me know and comment down below. We are still providing also virtual education and outreach, so feel free to contact us if you want a presentation, if you want a training, anything. We can always accommodate that for you guys. Yeah, but other than that, is there anything that you wanted to say? Final? Any plug that?
Follow Health Promotion on Facebook, so Health Promotion at Texas A&M. I wanted to give y'all the Instagram. I really hope Megan is still watching so she can put it, because I can't think of it off the top of my head and I don't want to give you the wrong handle. But Health Promotion at Texas A&M. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram to be updated. We have a lot. Megan Buck, she's in the comments at the top. She posts amazing content on our social media. There's always tips and tricks for students and anyone, honestly, about how to cope with COVID-19, and there we go. Thank you, Maggie. So Tamu Health Promotion on Instagram. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Follow us on @sarcbb.org. And yeah, we are
Twitter.
Yeah. Yes, follow TAMU HP Health Promotions on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and follow @SARCBV on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest news that we got going on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and that is it. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Happy Thursday. Bye-bye.
Woo-woo.